Good morning, night shift. Welcome to day 2. So today is going to be primarily Surya Namaskar, which is Sun Salutation A. That is a very, very common practice that you'll see in most beginner yoga practices. Also, like morning yoga classes tend to include this just because it's a very warming and motivating practice. The postures are very specific and it's supposed to help with just kind of waking you up, invigorating the body, and it's just a really healthy series to go through. My yoga teacher trainer swears by it. Basically, if you do one sun salutation for every year that you are alive, and never did any other yoga ever, you would apparently be very healthy. I have not tested this theory because I enjoy a lot of other postures, so I don't tend to just stick to these ones. I do include these often. But yeah, apparently it's just a really healthy, really great series to go through. So today we're going to start standing. Let me check our time here. So we're going to start standing, and as we begin to arrive, thinking back to that mountain posture that was discussed yesterday, you can close your eyes. You can join a soft gaze looking through your eyelashes, or you can keep your eyes open and fixed on a stable, non-moving part. And that's just what we call a drishti. I practice with my eyes closed because I like to feel the sensations, but it is entirely up to you. And some days I can't practice with my eyes shut, depending on how wobbly I'm feeling or if I'm not feeling super good. So as we begin to slow down, taking time to focus on our feet, maybe shifting that weight forward and back into the toes and into the heel. Maybe slightly lift those toes up and place them back down to test balance, to see how you're feeling. You can pop up off of your toes and up off of your heels. This can be a nice little gentle stretch for your feet, but it can also help you find that really stable, balanced position. And now moving left and right, being careful not to roll the ankles too far, but beginning to warm up those ankles, moving from blade edge to blade edge of your feet, and then making gentle circles. The circles might be primarily aimed at your ankles, but you'll notice that your hips are going to start moving too, and then the other way. And inhale, arms straight up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms up. On the exhale, drop your right hand down to your back. You can touch the top of your back, that's fine. If not, just in that general direction. And then holding your elbow with your left hand, maybe pull down, pull that right elbow towards the left and press down gently to begin to stretch those arms. And then release. Arms up. Exhale, hands down. Inhale, sweep arms up. And then left elbow bends, right hand goes to left elbow, giving that gentle tug, being careful not to pull to the point that you're feeling any real twinging or tickling. I know we talked about it yesterday, but remembering that you want to feel that stretch in the meat of your muscle, not at the points that they attach. And release, arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. And beginning to just bring in some gentle spinal waves. Exhale to the right. Inhale forward. Exhale to the left. And continuing with that breath linked movement on your own breath, you may get to the point where that breath doesn't stop you, you just continue to move. But trying to remember to inhale forward and exhale back. And that motion can be as smooth or as choppy as it needs to be, just recognizing where you are today and beginning to move your body in space. And on your next inhale, stop at the front. Exhale, hands down to sides. And then pressing through your fist, right fist down. Press through that fist. Pull your right shoulder down towards the ground. Maybe that left shoulder flies up a little bit, but we're focusing on pressing that right shoulder down. And release. And then left hand. Press through that fist, almost like you're trying to punch the ground without actually without actually bending forward. And then alternating from side to side, pressing down when you're pressing down, when your fist is down, and then lifting that opposing shoulder up. Just to get some motion in those shoulders, and then maybe roll back a few times. And rolling forward. And then our neck. Exhale, chin to chest. Inhale, nose to sky. Exhale down. And inhale up. And keep going. And next, inhale slowly to the center. Exhale, nose to the left, looking over that left shoulder or behind it. Inhale forward. Exhale back to the right. Inhale forward. Exhale to the left. And then continue. If your breath comes out of sync, just stop and go back. Inhale forward, exhale back. And on your next inhale, dropping your right ear to your right shoulder, keeping your shoulders more or less where they are, trying to just focus on that neck bending to the side. Inhale up and to the left. You'll feel that stretch on the opposite, on that long side of your neck. But you don't want it to pinch, you don't want it to hurt. Inhale up, exhale to the right. And on your next inhale, return to neutral spine. Inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, fold forward. You can bend your knees slightly or you can keep them long, but bending forward slowly to reach for that floor. If you can't touch the floor quite yet because it's early in the practice and you're just not there yet, then that's okay. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward, trying to slide down a little deeper. Inhale, sweep arms up to sky. And exhale, hands to heart center. So this is a sun salutation warm up. And so let's break down a couple of the pieces here. So inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, as you fold forward, hands can go to heart center, but you want to lead with your chest. You want to make sure that you're not caving your back. You want to make sure you almost have an arch and fold forward. And the last thing that you want to drop is going to be your shoulders and your head. Inhale, halfway lift. Again, that can be to the floor, that can be to your top of your foot, it can be to your shins or your thighs. Just avoid your knees. And inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Another way that can be really nice and also can help I think it helps with showing where your body's going. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, swan dive. You'll hear this often in practices. Swan dive is literally that, looking like a swan diving down, but it gives you a nice shoulder opening and allows you to just really exaggerate your chest folding forward, and then sweep the ground when you get there. Inhale, halfway lift, or if you can't touch the ground, imagine that you're sweeping as close to it as you can. Exhale, fold. And inhale, sweep arms back up, reverse swan dive. And exhale, hands to heart center. Whether you decide to do a swan dive down or you decide to bring your hands to heart center is entirely up to you. I switch them up depending on how I'm feeling. If my shoulders are feeling particularly tight, especially if you've been having a particularly stressful night and you've been hunched over a keyboard and just really tense, letting those arms flare out can really help open up that chest that you've been compressing. And so that can be really nice. So now, one more time. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And sweep arms up. Inhale. Exhale, hands to heart center. And now, starting with the full sequence, inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And you can jump back to plank or you can step back to plank. It is entirely up to you, but you want to press through your palms and your fingertips, press through your toes, press those heels back, and then exhale, bend at the elbows and lower slowly down. Tops of the feet touch the mat. Inhale, lift to cobra. Exhale, lower. Tip your toes under, press through your palms, and it is going to take a while before you are able to necessarily just press up and back to a downward facing dog, but meet at that downward facing dog. And then you can step or hop between your hands. Exhale, find your feet between your hands in that standing forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. And again, inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, hands through heart center or swan dive down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. If you do decide to jump back to plank, it will take a while before your footing gets to where you are expecting it to go. And then exhale, hands pressing, elbows bend and lower. Feet to the top of your mat. Press up to upward facing dog or cobra, whatever feels better. Where it's early, you might just want to stick to a cobra. The difference between the two is that a cobra, your feet and your legs stay on the ground. With an upward facing dog, you press through the tops of your feet and you lift your thighs up off the mat. So that's the difference there. So it's just a bit different core strength. And then exhale back down, tuck your toes under, and press up and back to downward facing dog. And breathe here. Maybe pedal out your feet. Maybe adjust your stance if you need to. And step or hop through to your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. So just to clarify, the benefits of jumping back and jumping forward, it's not a necessity. It really just comes down to advancement in your postures. As you continue practicing, if you decide that yoga is for you, really there's a lot of benefit to building that core strength for hopping. One of the benefits is for forearm or balancing postures like crow. If you are used to engaging those core muscles to hop back and hop forward, it will allow you additional strength building for when you start trying to go into like crow pose or some of those more advanced postures. And so it's absolutely not a necessity, but it is something that does help you build that core work if you decide to really like try to step up the rungs of the different levels, because every posture has many different levels. And so then let's do a couple more sun salutations. Inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And step or hop back to plank. When you are going down, we're not doing a chaturanga because, actually pause for a quick second. You can put your knees down if you want, or you can hold up and plank if you want to challenge yourself. So when you are going down, I'm not teaching chaturanga because that is the most common posture for injury. If you do it incorrectly, you can get a shoulder impingement. You can cause some pretty serious damage. So we actually don't teach chaturanga at Downtown Yoga. You can always learn how to do it, but it's a risky posture. So that's just not something that we teach anymore. So a chaturanga is really when you see that kind of like wormy crunch forward, and they're fun, but they're dangerous. So it's just not worth it at this point. Like if you do really want to try it, but at the same point, just be really mindful that it is intense on your shoulders and most people really struggle with it. So when we're in this plank, what you want to do is you want to find a posture with your hands so that when you're bending your elbows, you're brushing your sides. You don't want to be way out here because that's a good way to hurt yourself. And if you go way too far in, then you won't be able to get down to the ground. So you want to find a place where your thumbs might be touching your boobs. That's probably where you're going to be. And then you're going to be able to just lower right by your sides. And then that way, if you do decide you want to do a chaturanga, that's how you learn where to hold your arms so that you don't get a shoulder impingement. So then tops of the toes down, inhale, press up. Exhale down, tuck your toes, press through your palms and your feet, and back to downward facing dog. And breathe here. And step or hop to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep arms to sky. Exhale, hands to heart center. And one more time. Inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward. Step, hop, or float back to plank. And exhale, lower slowly. Tops of feet meet the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. And if you'd prefer to keep yourself down at like a baby cobra, that's also perfectly fine too. If this full extension is too much for your lower back or your For me, I can always feel it in my lower back. Some people might feel it elsewhere, but one way or the other, if this is too much, there's nothing wrong with coming to a lower one and release your head back down, tuck your toes back under, and press up and back. And then step, hop, or float to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep arms to sky. Exhale, hands to heart center. And so that is a sun salutation. Those are great postures to work towards. They don't all have to be perfect, but it is definitely it's a combination of the most common postures. So it's a really great place to start and really put a lot of work and effort in, because if you can figure out a sun salutation, all the rest of the postures will just be that much easier, because you're learning where your hands are going to go, you're learning where your feet are going to go. And so it is really nice. And so then inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. So I'm going to throw in a little tricky one here. If this isn't something that you can do yet, then that's also okay. So heel, toe, feet out to the sides. Depending on where you need to be, I tend to find that my feet are barely off the mat. You want your toes pointing out, your heels pointing in, and then bend at the knees, drop the hips. And if you need to keep your hands down because you're just not flexible enough, or you just haven't done this enough and you don't trust yourself enough yet, keep your hands down. If you need to, place a block underneath you so that you can sit on it, or a book, that's also fine. But the end goal here is what we call a malasana squat, a Hindi squat, where you are just knees to elbows pressing out, hands to heart center, and then looking up. This is definitely a challenge because we do not particularly do this in our society, but this is great for training pelvic floor muscles. This is a wonderful posture for opening up those hips and just kind of beginning to warm up that area there. But it also is really just a comfortable resting position when you get comfortable with it. Until then, it sucks, and I'm sorry. Hands down, press back up, and one more time. Drop back down, elbows to knees, pressing out. Again, if you need a block or a bolster or something to sit on so that you can get into that posture but not have the full weight in your groin and in your knees, then there's nothing wrong with that. A book will work, a lunchbox even. And depending on how close you are to the floor, some kind of a pillow can even work just for a gentle nudge. And so if you did put something there, remove it and slowly drop down. You might want to put your hands behind you so that you don't drop too hard, and sit. Legs out long. Flex your feet pointing up. Maybe pull those toes back to you and then point. Flex your feet and point. And then bring in that right foot. Left foot. Scoot your right hip back. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward. If all you can do is just a couple of inches is great. And eventually, maybe you can touch your toes and fold forward. And walking yourself back. Extend that left leg, bring in your right, and then draw that left hip back. The reason that we do that is because when you bring your leg in, you actually cock your hips out sideways. So that way it realigns your hips so that you're actually more aligned with the mat, and that way it will lower your risk of a hip injury. So inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. You want to try not to arch your back too much. To fold forward too much. You kind of want to do that same posture as when thinking of that swan dive. You want to keep that chest folded forward and keep the chest puffed out forward. And then the last thing you do is bow. If you bend a little bit, that's fine. You just don't want to be totally compromising. And walking yourself back up. Right leg goes back long. Maybe pull that skin off the bottom of your bum. Inhale, arms up, and exhale, fold forward. And then walking your hands out back behind you, just a little bit back behind you. You might have to adjust your hands if this doesn't feel right, but this is going to be a reverse plank. Lift your hips up off the ground. This can be really hard for some people, but it's a great stretch. And lower. Inhale, exhale. And on your next inhale, lift up and back down. And then crisscrossing your ankles and your knees so you're just in that comfortable seated position. Inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, drop your right hand to your left knee, right, and then your left hand goes back behind you. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, left hand to right knee, right hand back behind you. And remembering that little string, thinking about pulling up on the inhale and then twisting deeper on the exhale. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. And then switching your ankles, whichever one was on the bottom now goes on the top. And then exhale, walk your hands forward. And walk your hands out to the left. Walk to the center, realign quickly, and then walk hands out to the right. Walking back to center, gently press back up to seated. Uncross your legs, maybe scoot down so that you can stay on your mat. Run your legs down long and lay back. A posture that can feel really nice if you have any pain in your feet or happen to have like swelling or like retaining water, can just be legs up the wall. You can do this without a wall or you can do it with the wall. So when we go into Shavasana, this is also a really common one. Sometimes people just enjoy doing this because it is a good stretch. It gives you a good, nice, good feeling. Pull those toes down towards your face. But really, if this is not comfortable, you can always scoot yourself up against a wall. Might take you a second to get there, but legs up the wall is also a really good option for Shavasana. Typically, people lay down flat with their feet out the mat like we discussed yesterday. But really, this can also be a really good one, especially for folks that are just like that, struggle with pain in their feet or just swelling after a long shift, things like that. It can help just bring the blood down, bring the fluids down. So this is also a really nice option for Shavasana too. If I don't cue it specifically, please remember that this is always a welcome option. And so then if you are against a wall, moving back to your mat, right knee up and hold. And then putting your right hand on your knee, dropping your hip out to the side. I like to keep my left hand on my left hip or whichever hand is on the opposite hip just to keep kind of firm holding it down, because otherwise it's kind of easy to just let yourself fall all the way over but pick that hip up, and that just isn't really going to do you any favors. Inhale, switch hands, right arm goes long, and roll out to the left. Look over the right hand or in that general direction and breathe. Inhale through to the center. Bring that knee back to your chest and hug it in. Then run your right leg down the mat, bringing in the left leg. Hug that knee in. And then using the same hand on same knee, same hand on same hip, drop that knee out to the side. Inhale, lift your knee up. Opposite hand on opposite knee. Drop your left arm out to the side and twist to the right. Gaze follows that left hand. And relax. And then placing your hand back on your knee. Hug that left knee in and then run your leg down the mat. If you decide to go into legs up the wall is perfectly great here. Otherwise, we're going to enter Shavasana. Heels are heavy on the mat, toes splay out to the sides. Breathing here. And as you begin to breathe, imagine as if there's a light beginning to form under your feet. As this light grows, you know that this light is safe and that it is there to relax you. As you breathe, imagine that light pulsing and growing with each breath. And as it pulls through your feet and fills the space in your toes and the arches of your feet and your heels, let that light wash away any remaining tension. As you breathe, that light creeps to your ankles, filling it with soft, warm light. That light reaches up your calves and your shins. And maybe allow that light to rest at your knees. A lot of bends and folds can be heavy on your knees, so allow your knees to release entirely. And as that light spreads up your thighs, to your pelvis, to your buttocks and the lower back, releasing anything that is still present. Release your abdomen and your chest, and let that light fill and spill into your shoulders and down your arms. And that light guides you to your elbows and down through your forearms, reaching your wrists and filling all the spaces in your fingers through to your fingertips. And as that light fills your arms, it begins to go back up your neck. Release your neck and your jaw. Maybe release your tongue from the roof of your mouth. And feel your cheeks sinking back. As that light touches your nose and your eyes, allow yourself to just release any tension. Unfurrow your forehead and your eyebrows. And then allow this light to guide to the crown of your head. And allow the scalp to melt down to the mat. As you're filling your entire body with this light, imagine as if it is beginning to seep out and around you, surrounding you with soft white light, protecting you and encasing you in peace and serenity. And breathe here. And now begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe blink your eyes open once or twice before rolling to one side or the other. But before pressing up, find a gentle pause and a grounding breath with your forehead to the mat. And in your own time, and only when you're ready, press up through your palms using your upper body strength and return to a seated position. Hands on knees, palms up to receive, palms down to give energy. Inhale, hands to heart center. Thank you for joining me in this practice this morning. I hope that you enjoyed your shift as well as this day. It is still before you, whether that means you're going to sleep or stay awake. I hope that it brings you joy and that this practice allows you to bring the energy you need into the rest of your day. The light in me sees and thanks the light in you. Namaste. Thank you. Again, I hope you have a great rest of your day and can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow.